welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to welcome you to our very first quarterly comprehensive neighborhood plan community update. My name is Danielle Crocker, and I'm the Associate Director at Connected Communities. And I am so excited that you joined us tonight for this awesome opportunity to hear updates and to chat about the work that Connected Communities has so happily been doing since July. So we're going to ask our guests, those of you who are here with us in Zoom, to go ahead and put in the chat your name, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and why you're excited to join us tonight. What interests you about the work of Connected Communities? We really are excited and we want to hear from you tonight. And listen, before we go further tonight, I do want to say for our Facebook group friends, anyone who's joining us through our Facebook group, we want to encourage you to go ahead and register if you haven't already for the event. And I'll tell you, you're going to need to be on our email list because you don't want to miss the many updates and special features that are going to be coming forward with our comprehensive neighborhood plan updates. So make sure you go ahead and register so that we have your email contact so that you can be up to date in real time with what we're doing here. And before we go into our agenda, I just want to stop to give a special thank you and recognition to our wonderful Executive Director, LaShonda Leslie Smith. We are really grateful for her leadership and support as she continues to grow and expand our team. So here is an overview of our night. We're going to be talking tonight about the things that have happened from July up through December. And if you were here with us in July, can you give us a shout out? If you were with us in the town hall, just let us know, I was here. We're really excited to share updates from July through December and give you an idea of where we're going. For those of you who don't know, the mission of Connected Communities is to partner with the Beechwood and Emma residents to break the cycle of poverty through anti-racist community development and equitable resource coordination. And you can imagine that that is not a standalone task. We don't do this by ourselves. In partnership with many partners and residents in the community, Connected Communities has been busy planning and implementing the 55 recommendations from the Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan since our initial reveal in July. And tonight, we're excited to share with you where we've been on the journey. But before we do that, I want to give you a little overview of what our comp plan updates will look like in the future. It will be broken up into two sections. So the first section is going to be our pillar updates, which you'll hear shortly in tonight's session. And this is when we will share out with you in collaboration with our partners on where we've been in the progress towards the recommendation. And for some of those, especially for the housing pillar, we're going to have our digital success maps to help you see the progress and completion points for those recommendations. The second section is something that we're really, really excited about. Because as a part of our work, it is very important for us to recognize the amazing role and work that our partners do to ensure that this is not a Connected Communities plan, but this is a Beechwood and Emma plan. And so we are going to have pillar awards. Those awards are going to be for people and organizations that shine bright in their area of expertise and in the work that we do together. And so listen, in the spirit of our comp plan, values and goals for community input all along the way, we're going to need your support with developing the nomination design for this. So please, please, please make sure you're on our email list because we are looking forward to recognizing all of the shining stars in community development because we can't do it alone. So now, for all of our guests and our friends, if you don't mind, just jump over in the chat and tell us what you're excited to hear about tonight. Just tell us, are you interested in our housing pillar? Do you want to hear about what's happening in education? Do you want to see if there's opportunities for you to jump in and volunteer and strategize around these recommendations? But what is it that you're interested in? We want to know. And by the way, please make sure you're paying attention to the chat tonight because there are going to be questions that you want to make sure you're able to answer and stay connected with what's going on. So now, without further ado, I am excited, very excited to hear our community neighborhood plan updates. And our very first presenter is going to be our community project manager, Rachel Betts. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Jan. I think I'm on now. Thanks for the introduction. I saw some people in the chat said they were excited to see anything surrounding COVID. So listen closely to my presentation because I've kind of framed the whole thing around that. The first thing I have to talk about today is just to ask you guys a question. Think back to March 2020 when the world as we knew it changed. Do you remember what you were doing, where you were, who you were with? I certainly remember what I was doing. On March 12th, aka the day it all went down, it was coincidentally the day of our annual Youth Career Fair. It's an event intended to provide youth not only with local employment opportunities, but also to equip them with the skills necessary to secure and keep those jobs. On that day, Jason Taylor, our school community coordinator at East High, and I had to make an extremely difficult decision to cancel the event mere hours before it was scheduled to start. We had 36 vendors and over 200 youth predicted to attend, and we had been planning this event since October. I'll tell you that I felt defeated, lost, and honestly a bit aimless as I pulled the final plug, knowing it was the right decision, but at the same time wondering what were the next steps for connected communities. For me, in my position as a community project manager, my job, which is community engagement, is a process so reliant on community gatherings and, well, social undistancing, if I may coin that term. Well, here we are 1 year later, and not only am I ready to tell you how we made out, but I'm also really excited to share all about it. Although our job fair this year is going to be virtual, something we never would have imagined a year ago. Sorry, can you go back a slide? I'll let you know when to change it. Planning is in the works to have it last an entire month so we can provide even more support in terms of the application process and job skills educational piece for our youth. We're also thrilled to bring in our MAPI, Wellventions, the city, and Rochester Works as some of our collaborative partners for this event. We anticipate this year the event will be bigger and better than ever, all from a virtual space too. Who would have thought? Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to talk about the Resident Ambassador Program. The Resident Ambassador Program, our year-long employment readiness opportunity, was another thing this year that felt jolted out of alignment. Clearly, as you can see from this slide, this program is a key component of the work we do at Connected Communities. It encompasses 3 recommendations from the comp plan in 3 different pillars, which are listed on the slide. It also greatly expands the capacity of Connected Communities and allows us to reach even more residents. 6 months into the first iteration of the program, with 6 months left to go, and we find ourselves on lockdown in our homes, suddenly unable to meet in person. Pretty much all of us, myself included, had never used Zoom before, and some of the resident ambassadors didn't have Wi-Fi or computers to use from their home. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thanks. It wasn't easy, but I'm thrilled to say within a week we had Chromebooks and MiFis for the RAs to work from home. In October, we had 5 individuals graduate with micro-credentials in community organizing from St. John Fisher College's Social Innovation Academy and Connected Communities. St. John Fisher is one of our main partners, and they're on board with the project again this year. Next slide. This year, I am, again, thrilled to say that we were able to hire 3, soon to be 4, incredible resident ambassadors and respond to some of the needs expressed by the community. In response to your desire for promotions and career advancement, we created a new position, the lead resident ambassador. Pay attention here, this might be important later, just a hint. Anyway, the lead resident ambassador will receive additional support in management and facilitation. We also heard you when you said more workplace development and job skills are needed. So we added additional value in that area to our program, which now features LinkedIn, networking, and interviewing assistance spread out over the course of the year. Oh, and yes, we are entirely virtual until COVID allows us to be otherwise. And this year we were able to equip our RAs with their own laptops, a big upgrade from last year's Chromebooks. Before I go on to share one more exciting event this year, I have a question for you. What is the new position created this year? Drop your responses in the chat. I'm not seeing any responses. Yes, Maureen, Shannon, Janet, I see you guys are getting it. All right, thanks. And then Andrea responded lead resident ambassador, and she is actually our lead resident ambassador this year. So everyone give her a shout out. We're thrilled to have her back. All right, next slide. So we all know that staying in our comfort zone is not a good pathway for growth. After dealing with so much change and having to think outside the box so much this year for how to reach out to residents and still have our programming from a socially distant space, we were ready to take another step outside of our comfort zone when things opened up, a little bit at least, over the summer. From this, our community pop-up sessions were born. The concept behind these is simple. Go out in the community, set up a table, and meet residents where they are. Over the course of the summer and early fall, we held 17 events in 9 unique locations in the neighborhood. We partnered with the Department of Youth and Recreation Services, who provided fun activities and food for children. And we gave away reusable face masks and hand sanitizer, 2 items with significant need everywhere. And let me tell you, it was awesome getting to meet so many residents. Our pop-up sessions reinforced that this neighborhood is full of talent, passion, pride, and community. In fact, we met one of our current RAs at one of the pop-up sessions. We also learned that housing struggles are a huge concern for our community. To help, we created an emergency housing fund and got on board as intake coordinators for the Eviction Prevention pilot program. You'll hear all about this from our housing project manager, Jenna, in just a moment. This summer, COVID allowing, we are excited to get back out there and meet with as many community members as we can. It is always a pleasure talking to and learning from you. We know no matter what gets thrown at us, we will always continue that at Connected Communities. Thank you for listening to my community project manager updates. I'm going to toss it back to Jan so you can hear more about the amazing work my colleagues are doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. And we want all of our guests to know that in addition to our new cohort of resident ambassadors and our lead RA, we also were able to get an addition, which is our community engagement coordinator, Jennifer Bibb. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer has joined our team as of November and has been a valuable addition to the work. She is going to be leading our engagement strategies and collaborating with the RAs and community partners to ensure that community voice and input is in everything that we're doing as we implement the recommendations for the CMP. Thank you. So now we're going to move into our housing pillar updates by Jenna Lawson, our housing project manager.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here with you guys tonight. I hope everyone's as excited as I am. Anyone who knows me or has worked with me at Connected Communities knows housing is my passion. I could talk about it all day. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So let's get to it. So as Rachel was saying before, I actually got to attend some of the pop-up events. And in the events, we kept hearing these same anxieties that were completely understandable, but on a scale that we had never experienced before. So we decided to investigate the current CARES Act funding for emergency rent relief, which you can see on the next slide. So it's called the Eviction Prevention Pilot Initiative. So originally all calls in Monroe County were going through 211 into Catholic Family Center. In 1 month alone, they got over 3,000 calls, but they actually weren't given any additional funding to hire more people to answer those phones and to get those people to the aid that they needed. So they brought on people like us who acted as alternative front door organizations. So we focused in the Emma and Beechwood neighborhoods to help people get approved for the program. Now, it wasn't a perfect program, and it's not the fault of our county. These are state and federal regulations that determined who got to have the funding. You had to have lost income due to COVID. You can't receive temporary assistance. You have to be able to afford rent ongoing. So you have to have recovered from a pandemic that hasn't ended yet. You can't have interior code violations in your house, and the back rent has to be for after March 1st, 2020. So with all those stipulations, even though we got a ton of people through the EPI program, it just wasn't enough. So we actually wrote for the Emergency Housing Fund as well. This is a $25,000 flexible fund for people. We've had people who illegally got locked out of their apartment by their landlord. We've had people who their crisis was caused by their car breaking down or a non-COVID related incident. So things that were still emergencies, but with all of the demand from COVID, these people were not able to access the normal streams of emergency rent assistance. So between both of those, we raised over $97,000 allocated to people for back rent, in addition to helping people navigate the eviction moratorium, the court system, everything. So we will definitely clear $100,000 in the coming weeks as we just squeak out the last bit of our emergency housing funding. We're also working with the city of Rochester as they get the next stimulus package to make sure that they learn from the hardships and the people who were denied from this program. You can go to the next slide. So we also, through that program, we had to engage with code enforcement and local landlords. We partnered with the Neighborhood Service Center and city inspectors to address some super dire living conditions. And I know Nancy Johns Price is on the call. I remember calling her on a few times for some really emergency situations. She actually brought someone to us who we were able to help her get placed after she was homeless for over a month. So real big ups to Nancy and also to the city partners. With the new eviction moratorium, we were even able to help train School 33 folks and East High support staff, as well as the local library. And we even told police officers that they should keep something called a hardship declaration, which is a form that tenants need to submit to their landlord in their glove box, so that if they come across people who are in a housing emergency or who have been illegally locked out, that they can actually provide that aid on site. So we also made referrals to legal aid, again, to protect tenants in danger of imminent eviction and help build cases against landlords who are engaging in illegal practices to intimidate or illegally evict their residents. Next slide, please. We also, and all these headings you see on the top come from recommendations from the neighborhood plan. So this recommendation was to reinvest in existing homes. And in that vein, the Landlord Fund officially opened in fall 2020. And since the new eviction moratorium is put in place, we're now able to kind of shift our focus from the emergency housing fund to the Landlord Fund. We have 4 great applicants in the pipeline, and we are hoping to continue to expand that. So if you know a local landlord who could really use some funding to invest in their property, fix it up, anything from replacing shingles to windows to fencing, any of it, have them contact me. Additionally, if you have driven down Culver, you might recognize this building. It's right next to the University of Rochester Culver Road Medical Center. This was formerly Culver Manor. It was sold in a part of a 3-building package from a local slumlord to home leasing, and this year they will actually begin substantial renovations on the 48-unit formerly Culver Manor. From now on, we christen it Flower City Apartments. So that'll happen this year, hopefully in March. Next slide, please. All right. So the Rochester Housing Authority will also be inventorying and either rehabilitating or rebuilding their existing scattered site properties in the neighborhood. They have 16. This one in this picture is on Bowman Street. The Greater Rochester Housing Partnership has finished rehabbing a home on Melville. It's in contract with a first-time income qualifying home buyer, and they're set to start renovation on a property on Ferndale. This might sound familiar. It's almost parallel to the awesome work that the City Roots Community Land Trust is doing. They've rehabilitated 2 homes for owner occupants, one on Stuns and one on Melville, and a 2-unit rental property on Ferndale for people at or below 60% of the area median income. Next slide, please. All right, and now let's bring it home. If anyone's gone to neighborhood meetings recently, you might recognize that this is the Rochester Housing Authority Federal Street project plan. So right on the corner of Cedarwood and Federal. This will be 18 affordable units on the corner on the demolition of the existing site. And so exciting, I'm so pumped about this. Habitat for Humanity is actually going to begin to assess, so do environmental studies on 15 properties. So when we did our parcel by parcel study of every vacant lot in the community owned by the city, Flower City is going to be starting out with 15 to investigate to possibly build single family owner occupant homes. So that'll be starting this spring, and that is super important. So I've thrown a ton at you guys, but I want to hear, out of all the strategies we've talked about, the need in the community, what's most important to you guys? What strategies really stick out to you as making the biggest difference in your neighborhood? Is it addressing slumlords? Is it rehabilitating existing homes? Is it building new? Is it engaging with the city? I want to hear from you guys. There's no wrong answers. This is just more of a, I love to hear opinions, especially about housing. So I'll be looking in the chat for that, and I will throw it back to Jan.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Jenna. I just want to take this time before we go into more of our updates to remind all of our guests that are with us that if you haven't done so already, if you're in Zoom and you haven't registered, make sure you do that because we're going to be emailing out updates between now and our next quarterly update. We want to make sure that you are able to be a part of that. I also want to address a question that did come in the chat regarding the recording of tonight's event. Yes, we are recording, and the recording will be available in our Facebook group. So we'd love to have you in our Facebook group and on our email contact so that you can have these updates. And we can also provide the slides from tonight's updates. So we're very excited about that. We're excited about many of you who this is your first time joining us. We also noticed that some of you are back from July, and this is very, very great for you to have the opportunity to see what great work has been done in and with the community. So now I'm going to pass it over to our community school site coordinator, Lindsey, and she's going to be sharing some education pillar updates with us. Lindsey?
Thank you, Jan. Hi, everyone. Super, super happy to be here. Huge props to my colleagues for all of their amazing work. And I'm really excited because I saw a lot of familiar names in our participant list. So really excited that you've joined us too. My name is Lindsey. I hope that you know me. And if we haven't met, I hope that we meet sometime soon. But I'll be wrapping us up with some updates in our education pillar. So I think it's always really important to recenter us on why education is a part of our comprehensive neighborhood plan. We believe that strong, healthy communities seriously invest in high quality educational opportunities that are available across one's lifespan from early childhood through adulthood. And we really believe in making sure that that's accessible right here in our own neighborhoods. So really, despite the pandemic, we are still working on our recommendation to inform our neighbors of their rights in the district school choice process and to promote the programmatic offerings of both School 33 and East and build community again around our schools. So we've adapted our format this year from our previous door-to-door, but we'll be continuing our collaboration with East and pull in our new resident ambassadors to help develop and assist in our outreach via phone banking to families in the neighborhood. And we really believe that our planning reflects an awareness of keeping our community safe during COVID while still committing to our goals to make personal connections to our neighbors and advocate for their rights when it comes to choosing the best education for their child. So this year's enrollment deadline is April 2nd, if anybody knew. Another significant focus in our neighborhood plan is community schooling at School 33. So in late August and September, our school's community engagement team attempted outreach to over 370 families to make personal connections and provide resources before the highly anticipated start of remote learning. We continue to provide families too with critical items through our food and resource pantry at the school, having served over 100 families since the pandemic began, and providing ongoing support to at least 70 of those families. We've continued to work on filing and executing memorandums of agreement with our partners and have welcomed new partners to help us support students and families, including Third Presbyterian, Catholic Family Center, Freedom Scholars Learning Center, just to name a few. And because we started to reestablish our quarterly community partner meetings, our partners have found new opportunities to network with each other, which is really great, in service of the students by coming together through our shared partnership network. And lastly, I'd say COVID has really furthered us in our pursuit of implementing systems to monitor and address student needs. So we've been working together a lot to implement both social, emotional, and attendance and engagement trackers for our teachers to flag students who need additional support and where outreach to families need to be made. So this has been huge for us given the size of our school and has really been facilitated by our new house organizational model. So really, in light of the turmoil that COVID has brought to public schooling, we really continue to do our best to partner with others, connect with families, and address student needs. And I'm really excited. I really hope during the next update, I'll be able to give an update on our community school needs assessment. So look forward to that. And lastly, this past fall, we were lucky to unite 33 and East in a few significant ways. I think Jenna mentioned this, but our housing project manager, Jenna, who you heard from, presented a professional development training on navigating housing resources, including the EPI pilot program that we ran, to both East and 33 staff whose roles in our schools directly supported families. Also, given that the East Avenue grocery run that's run by Third Presbyterian was virtual this year, we were able to plan a joint 5K that connected our two neighborhood schools, bring our staff together in a safe and socially distanced manner, and raise thousands of dollars for our two food pantries. So we really hope to do more unique events like this in the future and do more exploration into aligning the curriculum and services offered at both of our community schools. So I really welcome you all to drop into the chat any ideas that you might have for how School 33 and East might creatively partner in the future. And with that, I'll be tossing it back to Jan.
Thank you, Lindsey. And now we're going to take a break to have you fire off in the chat. Which of the updates stood out to you the most? Which of the updates stood out for you the most? So while you're doing that, you can move around, think about it. Which ones do you have more questions about, want to either hear or share more in the progress of? Let's hear from you. Right. Thank you so much. We want to, before wrapping up, just again, remind all of our guests that the Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan for Beechwood and Emma is a living document. This plan provides a roadmap for investment in housing, health and wellness, education, and economic development for the neighborhoods. In addition, it is a framework for our goals and values in which we will use to evaluate those opportunities collectively in response to the community's needs as they arise. We need all of the support of the residents, of community partners, of family, friends, funders, and all of those who believe in the power of anti-racist community development. So we want to encourage everyone to make sure that you stay connected. And before you leave, don't disconnect. I have a few announcements that I want to make. Are you ready? So we're planning to do these updates every quarter, and we have saved the date for April 22nd for our next CMP quarterly update. Our hope is that you can join us again there. And between now and then, we will be hosting community talks where we will be discussing two controversial projects, the Goodman Plaza and the proposed police substations. So you're going to get updates in April on the outcomes of those conversations. And it's so important that residents from the community be present. So we want to ask you to make sure that you're connecting, talking, texting, social media, everything that you can do to get more residents involved so that we can really uplift and elevate the voices of residents as we implement the recommendations from this community comprehensive plan. The last thing that I want to say is that we really value and appreciate your time. So we're asking for you to please, at the end of this event, Make sure that you complete the survey. We want to hear your feedback on how we can continue to work and make our time together meaningful for everyone. Thank you so much again. And if you want to hang out in the Zoom, I know there's questions and answers going on in the chat. We'll be here for a little while, and we look forward to seeing everyone very soon. Again, thank you for being with us.